Hello, my name is Price Van Ray. I'm a divorced single dad, father of 5 kids. Welcome to my show. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, friends and family. That's right. So today, I want to talk about something that has sort of been on my mind. You know, you can always tell somebody's age by the stuff they say or the things they do. So today is going to be You Might Be Old If. You might be old if. Only if, though. So if this pertains to you, you'll understand. If it doesn't, you might get a kick out of it. So, like I said, there's always something here for everybody. But before I move on, I would like to give the thought of the day. There are many types of immortality, from a name to an event, but I will be forever immortal. For when I die, I will live through the eyes of my child. That is why. That's right. Everybody says, what would it be like to live forever? And I say, you live forever through your children. Your children remember everything you did. By them talking about all the things you did, I mean, you're still being alive in their thoughts, alive in their hearts, alive in their soul, and alive in their minds. So, I don't know, do we ever really die? Some people say, yeah, we die. We sit in the ground or we sit in an urn. But do we really die? Maybe our body dies. But who we are and what we will be remembered for, that, my friends, will never die, ever. Trust me on that. You'll be remembered by your children, by your friends, by your family. Hopefully in a good way. I mean, who wants to be remembered in a bad way? I know some people who are remembered in a bad way. I shouldn't say that. My parents always said, you never talk ill of the dead. But I guess if those people aren't good, then you're gonna talk ill of the dead. What are you gonna do? You're not gonna say, what a great person when they were alive. No, you're gonna say this person was a blankety blank blank blank. That being said, we're gonna move on to something interesting. Like I was saying, you might be old if. Now, what exactly is that? You might be old if you remember something that nobody else remembers, especially my kids. My kids, you know, they don't remember stuff like going out, playing with your friends on your bicycle and putting a card in the spokes of the bike and making it sound like a motorcycle. I don't even know if kids today ride down hills very fast. We did. I don't know how I survived. I have no idea. The survival rate for that when I was a kid was 100%. But nowadays, some of these kids are knuckleheads. I don't know. I don't know what to say. But well, let's get to it. You might be old if you used a rotary phone. That's right. If you know what a rotary phone is, you guys might be old. A rotary phone, for those of you who don't know, it's not like a cell phone that you have nowadays where you can fit it in your hand or even record. I'm recording this podcast on a iPhone. I'll tell you, I don't endorse them, but I'll be honest with you, I love the iPhone. The quality is, I'm going off on a tangent. The quality is great. The sound is great. I have cameras. I do photography, and I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on cameras. And I used to say, I'll never get an iPhone. They're just too expensive. But my daughter first, she gave me an iPad. And I was impressed. I can't say anything bad. And then my daughter gave me her old iPhone, and I said, you got to be kidding me. This is impressive. I love this. The quality. Anyways, phones nowadays are a lot different. They're like little computers than when I was a kid. We didn't even have real computers like we do now when I was a kid. If you had a computer when you were a kid, you were considered rich of the rich. I think I remember one of the first computers. I mean, they had a lot of different names, but the first one I still remember is the I just lost it. No, Commodore 64. I don't remember what it looked like or anything like that, but I remember in my school they had a Commodore 64, And people played games on it. I don't know if people played anything else on it, but then I remember when I went to UMass, they had a computer lab where you could type your papers, and they had these Mac computers that looked like shoeboxes stood up. And they were weird looking, but yeah. But nowadays, come on, you got laptops that are unbelievable. And so these rotary phones, they were these phones where it had like a wheel on it, and within the wheel were all these circles where you could put your finger in it to spin the dial, and the dials went from like 1 to 0. 0 was the operator, and they had alphabets after, like 3 letters after each number. Like 1 was ABC, and so on. But you'd have to sit there and dial it. You take your finger and turn it all the way in a circle, and it would go tick, 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 to go back. A lot different than the phones nowadays. My mom actually, she has, I believe she had a rotary phone, one of the last ones in the house. I don't know what she did with it. Actually, I think it might be in my mom's kitchen, but she doesn't use it because we have the push button phones down there. She's hard of hearing, so it's like one of the hearing aid phones. My mom still can't hear anything out of it. She keeps trying to switch the phones out, saying it's broken. I'm like, it's not broken, Ma. It's not broken. You have a hearing aid. But yeah, so rotary phones, kids today, I don't think they don't know what those rotary phones are. Absolutely not. And as far as I was talking about the Commodore 64 computer, you'd use a floppy disk. A floppy disk was something the size of a lottery ticket, I guess you could say. And it was hard and thick, and you'd have to stick it into the computer. That was like the brains of the computer. So a floppy, and it would hold quite a bit of information, but not like the hard drives they got now. Not like these phones I was just saying. The phones, these phones. I can't say enough about these phones. They're incredible. It's absolutely astounding. So, and the funny thing is, you go from the computer to, you might be old if you use a typewriter. I don't know if the kids know what a typewriter is. A typewriter is like a keypad, but with no screen. Your screen was a piece of paper in front of you, and every time you hit the buttons on the typewriter, it would snap, crackle, and pop a black letter on the paper. Now, there was no undo. There was no delete. As soon as you type it, that's it. It was written in stone, like Egyptian hieroglyphics. So if you did make a mistake, you'd have to get something called whiteout, which would white out the last part, the like black letters, so you wouldn't have to start over. And if you typed, you wanted to make sure you were a good typist. But actually, if I remember correctly now, as computers advanced, they did have a correction key where it almost had like a built-in whiteout thing to it. But all in all, typewriters, thing of the past. And I am going to have to say I do like the laptops. Now, the thing with the laptops is, whereas the typewriter, you type out everything you did. Go back to the computer. You print out everything on a computer, and you can delete, you can edit, and it's a lot easier than a typewriter was. Absolutely, 100%. So, do they use typewriters anymore? I have no idea. We used to have one here, but my dad, he just loved to throw stuff out. He didn't like to save anything. He didn't see the value in nothing, which I, on the other hand, am the opposite. I see the value in everything. So I might be a little bit of a pack rat, but I know the value of stuff. Anyways, you might be old if you took pictures with a film camera. Yeah, that's right, because kids nowadays, again with the phone, you can take pictures right off the phone and take thousands of them. You don't have to worry about making a mistake. You can just keep clicking and clicking. It'll be stored. All your images are stored in this thing called the iCloud. But when you took a picture on film camera, you had to make sure you took a good picture, because you had to pay for pictures, all these pictures, and you usually only got 24 pictures or 32 in a pack, maybe 36. and you didn't want to screw it up. You didn't want to accidentally hit the button and take a picture because you wasted a picture. And you're still going to have to pay to get these things printed up because they're not stored anywhere. And you had to make sure you hope that the pictures came out perfect because if they didn't, that was it. That was it. Pictures taken with film camera. That's almost like a thing of the past now. When I was in college, I took a photography course. And I'm when you take a photography course, we ended up taking pictures in black and white. So we would develop the pictures in a dark room, take the film out in a dark bag. But I mean, it was really cool to see the process of developing pictures in all these chemicals and watching the picture emerge and come to life. But I will say, cameras nowadays make it a lot easier, a lot quicker. I don't know if they have the same exact film quality, but I'll be honest with you, it's amazing when you could take thousands and thousands of pictures and not worry about paying for them and not worry about putting film in and out of camera and not worrying about even if you forgot to put the film inside the camera. Film, which was a strand of black acetone tape, and you had to wind it into the camera. And yeah, you really did hope it worked out. But it's funny how things in life can evolve and advance. And it's really cool. So it says you might be old if you made a mixtape. I remember as a kid, I used to make these mixtapes. So a mixtape is you have a tape recorder. Again, the phone has taken the place of that. The amazing phones of today. So a mixtape was you would have this tape recorder, maybe big as a shoebox. Some are even bigger, half the size of your body. They called them boom boxes. But you would wait for a song to come on the radio that you liked, that you loved, and if you didn't have money, you'd record it onto a tape, which was probably a little bit smaller than the size of your hand. And you'd always get the commercials in it or the DJ talking in the beginning or in the end. And you would line up all your favorite music on that. Now the flip side of that is this. You would record music without the DJ's voice. So if you had a friend who had the record, the album, or the tape, and they had the full thing, you could actually make your own tapes and play it in what you call a Walkman, which was another device with a tape, and you'd have earphones, and you'd put it in your ear and listen to it. Which, I mean, if you had a Walkman back in the day, you were the coolest of the cool. Not a lot of people had them, but I mean, they were coming out very frequently. So people were getting them. I remember, and I still to this day remember a Walkman was $29.99 and then $39.99. And I don't know, years and years passed, and I don't know what happened. It just sort of died out. They ended up getting like these Zooms, and you could hear music on the internet. And I don't know. I vaguely remember the transition, but I do remember the Walkman and the tapes, making the mixtapes. I don't know if I still have any. I might have one or two tucked somewhere in a box somewhere in the kitchen, in a drawer that I have forgotten. The forgotten drawer of Price Van Ray. Yeah, that's right. But I don't know if that got thrown out. But I would have seen the value in that, and I definitely would have taken it. Now, like I was saying a second ago, they would have tape recorders, and there were these things called a boombox. They were huge, and guess what, everybody? I had a boombox. I had a Panasonic boombox. I loved it. It had detachable speakers. You could play tapes. You could listen to the radio. It was, I mean, I loved that thing. It cost me $300 and I believe $29 or $349, but $300. I got that right after I graduated high school. I used my graduation money to buy it. And I wanted something really cool with great sound quality. And at the time, Panasonic was considered the best. It was considered the top of the line as far as the music. And when I heard the music come out of this at the store, I said, I want this. I really want. I love the quality. It had an equalizer and everything. It was perfect. I'm going to tell you, I take care of my stuff. I try to take care of myself. If I have something, it will last for a long time. So I had that all the way up in my 30s when I had my first child. So being the responsible dad, there's a whole story behind this, but I ended up quitting working in a bank to work in a factory because I didn't want my child to be in daycare, because I had heard so many horror stories about babies getting abused in daycares. So working third shift in a factory, I had a schedule and a routine down. I would put the baby, well, this is when my first child, Maya, was a little older too, like maybe a year. I'll say a year, because you're going to understand in a second. So I would close the bedroom door. I would go to bed. I'd put her on the bed with all her toys. I'd have snacks there for her. I would have a little bowl of cereal, some milk in a sippy cup, sandwiches, probably some junk food like Devil Dogs, probably there for me. And I would have, I believe I'd have a fan in a window because I like to have circulating air in a room. Now, here's the thing. When you're a dad and you're watching your child, you got to be a light sleeper. So I would barricade the door too with a box or something just to make sure she wasn't trying to open up the door. Later on, I'd have to sleep in front of the door because she was clever. But anyways, now listen close, everybody. So I'm sleeping in bed. I'm in and out of sleep because you have to be a very light sleeper with a kid. You got to watch your kid. And working third shift, I had to sleep, but I had to watch her too. So I'd be in and out of sleep. And as I was out of sleep, it was really quiet. I didn't hear her say anything. Usually she's humming or something, or she's playing with something and banging it. So I sat up real quick in shock. I'm like, what's she doing? What's she doing? I'm like, oh, she's just sitting there with her cereal. And I'm watching her. She had opened up my boombox that was by my bed and was putting Kix cereal balls in the tape deck and crushing them up. In horror, I screamed. But what could I do? I couldn't yell at her. She's just doing what a kid does. I should have been watching her more closely, or I should have covered up the boombox. And that was the day, for me, the music died. That's right. My boombox was no more. I had to throw it away. My favorite thing from childhood, the only thing I truly loved from my childhood that I could bring into adulthood, that really meant something to me, that cost me not only an arm and a leg, but almost all of my graduation money, I'm watching it go down the drain. Because I had planned on having this boombox till I was old. Even right now, to my age of 57, I planned on it because that's how good I took care of my stuff. And I'll never hear music the way I heard it then. And it's never been the same. Rest in peace, my Panasonic boombox. Thanks for the memories. And maybe one day, in the great beyond, I will see you once again. So that's if you had a boombox, you were it. You were awesome. That was the way to go. That was the way to go. And you might be old if you used a phone book. I don't even know if they make phone books anymore. I see if little kids are listening and people who don't know what a phone book is, it's a phone book. It's a book with phone numbers in it. So when you had a phone and it was connected to the phone system, I guess that's what you call it, it would have your name and your address in this phone book, unless you wanted to be unlisted, where you have to pay a little bit more money. And you could look up anything you want. It would have businesses' addresses. It would have home addresses. Alphabetical order is in which it was designed. So if somebody's name was Stephen Zinn, you'd go to the Z's and you'd find his name. If it was Price Van Ray, you'd go to R, because Van is not my last name. Van is my middle name. If you go to John Doe, you'd go to D. D is for Doe, and J is for John, if you know what I mean. And it goes like this, and that's just the way it is. So Nowadays, do they use phone books? No, they don't use phone books. You know what they use? The internet. And guess where you can get the internet? Everybody with me? That's right, on your phone. That's right. The phone has replaced everything like you cannot believe. And there's a lot more. You might be old. And I think I'm going to probably have to do another show on this because I believe there's so much stuff. You might be old if that I could stretch this out to like 4 or 5 shows. And you know what? I think that's what I'm going to call this You Might Be Old If Part 1. How's that? And then maybe in a couple of weeks I'll do Part 2 when I have a lot more time because I think it's something everybody would love to hear. You might be old if. And you know what? You might be old if you know what I'm going to say next. Because next, I'm going to say it's story time. One day, an elephant wandered into a forest in search of friends. He saw a monkey on a tree. "Will you be my friend?" asked the elephant. Replied the monkey, "You are too big. You cannot swing from trees like me." Next, the elephant met a rabbit. He asked him to be his friend, but the rabbit said, "You are too big to play in my burrow." Then the elephant met a frog. "Will you be my friend?" he asked. "How can I," asked the frog, "be your friend? You are too big to leap about or around me." The elephant was upset. But then he met a fox, and he asked the fox, "Will you be my friend?" The fox said, "Sorry, sir, you are too big." The next day, the elephant saw all the animals in the forest running for their lives. The elephant asked him, What's the matter?" The bear replied, "There's a tiger in the forest. He's trying to gobble us all up." The animals all ran to hide. The elephant wondered what he could do to save everyone in the forest. Meanwhile, the tiger kept eating up whoever he could find. The elephant walked up to the tiger and said, "Please, Mr. Tiger, do not eat these poor animals." "Mind your business," growled the tiger. The elephant had no choice but to give the tiger a hefty kick. The frightened tiger ran for his life. The elephant ambled back into the forest to announce the good news to everyone. All the animals thanked the elephant. They said, "You are just the right size to be our friend." That, to me, was a great story. Has anybody here ever felt like an elephant? Like you want to have a friend, but they have excuses? And hopefully, like the end of this story, somebody will say, "You are just the right size to be my friend." Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I want to thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can download any of my past podcasts morning, noon, and night and hear it all over the internet and the world. It'd be great if you could hear what I have to say. So, everybody, that being said, it's going to bring us to the end of the show. I want to thank all of you for listening today. It's been great, and don't forget to be nice and talk nice to everyone you see. And do you want to know why? Because it's free. That's right, don't be a jerk. And remember this one last bit of advice. Tomorrow is never promised, so don't go to bed angry at your child or anyone you love. And before you go to bed tonight, hug your child and tell them, "I will love you forever, Dad." Hey, thanks for joining me here today. Let's do it again. I'll see you next time here on my show. Be well, be kind, be back, peace, and I am out of here. I'll see y'all later. Bye.